Hello everybody, this is a little brief tutorial on traffic splines and changing the speed that is response to a question over on the FSUK forum. I started typing up a response. I think it's just easier to show it in a quick video. The first thing that you need to look at is you can indeed change the speed of traffic, and that is done by adding a float to the name of max speed scale. You can see right down there where my cursor is, and then you can use that value to change the speed that the traffic moves at. However, that does come with a few problems where I changed all the traffic to speed number 3 on my map, which is about 55 miles an hour. So as you can imagine, traffic is zooming all over the place and it'll blast right through this intersection at 55 miles an hour. That's not really realistic. So what I did is I created a little slowdown zone right here of a scale 2, and then I created a scale of point 0.1, and that's basically the speed in game that it takes for that vehicle to decelerate and stop. Well, slow down basically. Then it floats for a bit, and then it crosses. Whoops, wrong one. And then it crosses the intersection all the way, and it continues up to speed scale 3 over there on the other side. And that is relatively easy to do by adding the user attribute. All you do is you go down here to the user attributes window, you would click float and type in the name max speed scale, and then click add, and it would pop up with the value right there like it shows. But the problem of changing acceleration speed and stopping distance, that is a little bit more involved. To do that, you're going to need to do a few things. First, you're going to have to look in wherever you install the game. Mine is in Steam. So if you look under Steam, Farming Simulator, Data, and then you're going to want to go to Maps, and then under maps, you're going to look for this, the map01 traffic system.xml. This has all of the information that the game uses to control traffic. You're going to want to copy that, and then you're going to want to paste that into your basic map. I keep mine in the maps folder location, right? So this is the main folder of the map after it's unzipped. I keep mine right here, traffic map01 traffic system. I won't actually paste it, but this is where you would paste it. The reason I did not change that position is because over here on your actual traffic spline, you'll see that it has an onCreate attribute, traffic system onCreate. Then it references an XML file, and if you have not changed anything or you're editing basically the default map, it will use the default directory from wherever you installed the game, which will be pound data something. I think it's just like that, pound data maps. That could be off a little bit, but it'll be something pound. Whenever you see the pound data, that is referring to, it's basically the the default game directory wherever it's installed. So mine is again the Steam apps Farming Simulator, and then here's the data folder that it's referring to. So the game engine knows to look in the default directory where you installed the map. If you want to override that and start changing more things than just the max speed scale, again, you only have to do this if you want to change more than the max speed scale. You do not have to do this if you are just changing the speed. But as I'll explain, you basically want to, if you change the speed too much, I think you can go up to like 1.5 or maybe 2 safely, and you might not have problems. But, things start happening where cars collide into things or they zip around the corner way too fast at 55 miles an hour. That's not realistic. And they'll hit things, like I already said. Anyway, continuing onward. So I don't want to mess this up on my map. So maps, that's my location, right? So if I go into the folder under maps, and I have map01 traffic system right here. Let's go ahead and open that one up, and it'll bring up Notepad++ here. And so you can see this is referencing, these are all the vehicles that the traffic system is going to be using on my map. This is the top speed, and then this is the acceleration. You generally don't want to change these unless you know what you're doing. It will actually change the values in game. So if you change the top speed, you don't want to change that here. You want to change that in game using the max speed scale. If you change it here, it'll just mess everything up in game, and you'll have to readjust everything. So don't do that. But if you look, this is referring to another file which you're going to have to add. It says dot dot vehicles cars, and if you remember, we pulled this from the default directory. So when the original game is going to reference this file, it thinks that we'll go back into Steam Apps Common. And farming, I should just save this as a shortcut, and data. So if you look here, this, we'll just find the file. Where there, oh, right there. So this file is going to reference, remember, we copied this file from that directory. So this file is going to reference the dot dot dot. Anytime you see that, that means it's one level previous, basically. It's like kind of a parent. So if you go back to data, if you see vehicles, that is what is going to, right, dot dot, and then vehicles, and then cars, and these are the cars that this file is going to be looking for. So if you want to change anything, like have a bigger collision window where the car can actually slow down and stop faster, you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to copy this cars folder, right? And you're going to have to put it in your map. So I put mine in the same location. So under vehicles, you're going to have to create a folder called vehicles and then paste the cars folder here. I'm not going to do it because I already have mine and it's already edited. But if you look in the cars folder, here is where if you open up the Corman, however you say that, here is where you are going to see the collision. So by default, I scaled this about 3.5. If you want your cars to stop from a speed scale of 3, which is about 55 miles an hour, without doing anything else, this is what you're going to have to change. You're going to have to change. There's a traffic collision trigger. By default, it is scaled to 1, right? And it was right about there. So I have changed that to a scale of 3.5, and that is what I have figured out from my own testing that will actually stop the vehicle from 50 miles an hour. It'll actually stop the vehicle without hitting a stopped object on the road. However, this also comes with a caveat because if you imagine traffic with a collision, you can actually import this on your map and essentially drive it around to check the distances. But for example, if that car is looking to turn and say it's a sharp turn and you have a, I don't know, a tree here somewhere in the middle of the intersection or some other object where it's a tight turn, it'll actually, or another car, for example, it'll actually sense that other vehicle or whatever that collision is, and it could potentially stop. So that's something that you're going to have to check for that could potentially break the traffic on your map. You're going to have to check for where this collision trigger intersects other things. On most intersections, if it's just a brief window, it probably won't break anything because at a scale of 3, for example, or 2, or even a 1, if it briefly intersects something while it's turning, so if you imagine a car, it's turning here from, I'm gonna have street signs. If it's turning from Broadway here onto Springfield Road, if it intersects something here in the middle of the intersection while it's turning, so say this is just a little right angle turn, and so say it's making that turn, right? It's going to sense that tree, and it may very well stop, but well, if it was going straight through the intersection, it would stop. Well, actually, that's a bad example. It would have to be somewhere like this. So, like, it's right in the middle of the turn, right? So it's not going to see it when it's coming along Broadway. When it starts to turn off the Springfield Road, it'll see it. It'll start to slow down, but it's not going to be able to stop in time, even at a speed scale of 1. It'll basically go right past that turn, and by the time it would have stopped, it's already past the turn. It doesn't sense a collision anymore, and it'll just keep going. However, if you have tighter turns, for example, if you have a car turning right here and you have another car stopped over here at this stoplight, it might actually, especially if it slows down for another car that's already in the intersection and then it sees a car over here, this car might not turn right. So that's just something that you're going to have to check during your map. You're going to have to check the traffic really well to see if you have any problems like that. That's things that I have noticed. And I think that should just about cover. Oh, yeah, the original poster asked if you can change the acceleration speed of the vehicle, and that is right here. But again, that'll kind of mess some things up on your map where cars won't accelerate very fast. I haven't touched that because I haven't had good luck refining this value to actually have good results. So that's something I might still mess with later. As far as traffic density, the original poster asked that. I don't think there's a way to control traffic density. As from what I've seen, I think if you just have less splines or have the splines closer together, it basically, from what I can tell, and this is don't quote me on this, but it seems like it spreads out the traffic over the entire map, over the entire spline network. So if you want more traffic density, try to have less splines. But again, don't quote me on that. That's just what I have observed. Those could be incorrect observations from um, limited time in the game, actually looking specifically for that. So anyway, that is the way that I did the traffic on my map. I hope that helps you and anybody else. I'll post the link to the FSUK forum here from YouTube, and yeah, you can ask any more questions you have over there on FSUK. I think that should cover just about everything. Thanks. Bye.